One of the favorite tricks for bodybuilders who want to look their best for a competition is using a method called carb cycling. First, watching how many calories you eat is the most important, but controlling how many carbs you eat on different days is the next big step to looking even better. I know only some of you watching this want to compete and show your muscles on stage, but carb cycling can still be good for all of you, especially those everyday gym rats. So this video will talk about what carb cycling is, who might want to try it, why it might work for your body, and how to start doing it yourself. Carbohydrate cycling means changing how many carbs you eat on different days. Here's a simple way to understand it. No carb days or zero starch days. You try not to eat any foods like bread or pasta with a lot of carbs. You might still eat a tiny bit of carbs from vegetables or some fat sources, but it's a minimal amount, like less than 5% of all the food you eat that day. Lower carb days. On these days, you aim to about 1 gram of carb for every pound you weigh. If you weigh more because of extra fat, think about how much you would weigh without that extra fat and use that number instead. Higher carb days. These are days when you eat more carbs, like 2 grams for every pound you weigh. You're carrying a lot of extra weight, just like with the lower carb days. Think about your weight without the extra fat. Remember, the exact amount of carbs you eat on the lower or higher carb days might need to be adjusted. I will help you figure out how to do that later, because everyone is different. There is more than one perfect number of carbs that works for everyone. So consider these as starting points and adjust based on how much you weigh. Some people think carb cycling is only good when you want to lose weight, but it's also great for gaining muscle without gaining too much fat. When bulking, higher carbs will give you more energy to train harder. And when cutting, carb cycling helps you lose more fat and keeps as much muscle as possible. I'll explain that in detail later. So whether you're trying to get bigger, bulking, or leaner, cutting, carb cycling can be helpful in both situations. Carb cycling is a way to help control how your body works and how fast it uses energy. When you don't eat enough for a long time, your body uses less energy to save it, and it's like going into survival mode. This is because it's not good for your body to use much power when it's not getting enough. But the problem is, if you're trying to lose fat, you want your body to use more energy, not less. Your body has something called hormones that help control how much energy you use. 2 important ones are thyroid hormones and leptin. When you don't eat enough, these hormones make your body use less energy. Eating more carbs at different times can make these hormones work better, so your body uses more energy. So when bodybuilders are getting ready for a contest and stop losing fat, they eat more carbs for a short time to make their bodies use more energy again. This helps them keep losing fat. People's bodies work differently because of how they break down food and where they live. It's important to know that what helps one person lose weight might not help another. Carbs are a type of food that a lot of people get wrong. They think carbs are bad because many overeat sugar and don't move around enough. When people overeat sugar and sit all day, their bodies store the extra sugar as fat. This can lead to type 2 diabetes because their bodies can't handle sugar well anymore. Research does indicate that overweight individuals are susceptible to impaired insulin response. So yes, too many carbs can be an issue, but it doesn't mean we should stop eating them. The trick is to keep alternating carb cycles as much as possible while simultaneously achieving sufficient weight loss or muscle growth, depending on how active you are and what your body needs. Some people might need to eat less carbs because their bodies don't use sugar well, especially if they don't train. But if you're very active, you might need more carbs. Therefore, the carb intake suggested earlier served merely as starting points. You might need to eat more or less depending on how your body handles sugar and how much you move. Don't be scared of carbs or any other food. Just use your head and be pragmatic about it. If you're sitting at a desk all day and driving to work, you probably should eat fewer carbs than someone who is active and on their feet all day. When talking about carbs, we shouldn't forget about the glycemic load. This is about how much food can increase your blood sugar quickly. Foods that make your blood sugar jump have a high glycemic index. Do you know what food has the highest glycemic index? Write it in the comments below. When we eat a whole meal, the glycemic load is the overall combined impact of all the ingredients. So eating sugary foods isn't always bad. Eating them with other things like fiber, complex carbs like whole grains, good fats, and green veggies can help keep your blood sugar from getting too high. This doesn't mean you should always eat lots of sugar, but a little bit is okay and won't make you gain weight just like that. One thing to remember is about a sugar called fructose, which is in fruit. It doesn't make your body release insulin like the other sugars. It mostly goes to your liver. But this doesn't mean you can have fruit or other sugary foods. Just keep them to less than 25% of your carbs. A lot of people are terrified of insulin, believing that even a little bit will make them gain a lot of fat. But the truth is, insulin can help you a lot if your goal is to make your muscles bigger and stronger. A bunch of studies have proven that when you eat a small number of amino acids, the building blocks of protein, with carbs, it helps your muscles grow more than if you ate the amino acids alone. This muscle growth is because of how insulin works when you eat carbs. However, you must understand that you don't need to go crazy and eat a ton of sugar or simple carbs to get your insulin levels super high. That's not how it works. Just eat a good amount of carbs to get a nice, moderate increase in insulin. Eating too much sugar in an attempt to boost insulin a lot won't make your muscles respond any better. In fact, your body's reaction to insulin doesn't keep getting better the more insulin you have. When it comes to carb cycling, adding a lot of fat to your diet, especially on the days where you're not eating many carbs, isn't a smart move. This approach is different from diets like keto, where you eat a lot of fat since you're not eating carbs. Overeating fat, especially the kind that's not good for you, can mess with your body's ability to use insulin properly. It can lead to insulin resistance, leptin resistance, and other issues you don't want. What happens is that instead of your muscles getting the energy they need, your fat cells start storing everything, which is the opposite of what you want. So when you're doing carb cycling, you should watch how much fat you're eating. Don't think that just because you're eating fewer carbs one day, you must eat much more fat to compensate for it. It doesn't operate that way. It's not good for your body or your goals. As for protein, it's pretty straightforward. Your protein intake should stay pretty much the same every day, but on those days when you're eating fewer carbs, it might be helpful to eat a little more protein just to make sure you're getting enough calories. This is especially true if you're bulking. On the days you're eating more carbs, you might need to eat less protein. This is because carbs help protect your muscles, ensuring the protein you eat is used efficiently. Setting up a carb cycling diet. Remember these two essential tips when switching how many carbs you eat each day. First, don't have days with a lot of carbs right after each other. Second, eat more carbs on days when you work out the hardest. On easier workout days, do just cardio. Or days you don't work out at all, eat fewer or no carbs. So let's talk about how to plan your week of eating carbs based on what you want to achieve. If you want to lose fat, eat no carbs for 2 days each week. Eat a small amount of carbs for 3 days each week. Eat more carbs for 2 days each week. For example, you could eat a small amount of carbs on Monday and Tuesday, no carbs on Wednesday, lots on Thursday, a small amount on Friday, no carbs on Saturday, and lots on Sunday. Try to do your hardest workout on Thursday and Sunday. If losing fat is hard for you because your body doesn't use insulin very well, have 3 days each week where you don't eat carbs. Eat a small amount of carbs for 3 days each week. Eat more carbs on 1 day each week. You could start your week with no carbs on Monday, eat a small amount on Tuesday, no carbs again on Wednesday, lots of carbs on Thursday, a small amount on Friday, no carbs on Saturday, and a small amount on Sunday. If you want to gain muscle, don't eat carbs for 1 day each week. Eat a small amount of carbs for 3 days each week. Eat more carbs for 3 days each week. Your week could look like this. Eat a small amount of carbs on Monday, more carbs on Tuesday, no carbs on Wednesday, more carbs on Thursday, and a small amount of carbs on Friday, Saturday, and then more on Sunday. If you're good at using insulin and want to gain muscle, you don't have any days without carbs. Eat a small amount of carbs for 4 days each week. Eat more carbs 3 days each week. Your week could be more carbs on Monday, a small amount on Tuesday, more on Wednesday, small amount on Thursday and Friday, more on Saturday, and a small amount on Sunday. As you can see, you can make a carb cycling diet in many different ways. Your choice depends on your exercise plan, what you want to achieve, and how well you handle carbs. This video is here to help you make your carb cycling plan. Try different ways and change things up if you need to. Finding the best diet for you might take some time. If things don't work out the first time, don't worry. Use it as a chance to get better and learn.